Are the Philadelphia Phillies going to lose the best mascot in baseball or sports, the Phillie Phanatic, and a realtor fired a gun at an open house? Check out Tool Time right now. What's up, everybody? I'm Tom Toole. She is Jess Lyon. We are back on Tool Time with some interesting news, some stuff to talk about. A little controversial. I'm glad we're not talking about real estate tech this week. It's been kind of the topic du jour. This story's kind of rocking the Philadelphia area, where people are more concerned about this than Wawa Hoagies, which is a big deal, that the Phillie Phanatic might get taken away from the Phillies. So the story behind this is the Phillies have filed a copyright lawsuit in the U.S. District Court suing a group of people who say they created the Phanatic back in the 70s, and now these folks are apparently asking for millions of dollars from the Phillies, or they're going to revoke the usage of the mascot that was apparently solidified in a 1984 agreement. Jess, what do you think about all this?
I really have to tell you that I'd probably put money on it that we don't lose him. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but looking through the article, it looks like the people who created it, there was an agreement, they got paid. It sounds to me like they're kind of like reaching for some more money here. And they're just looking to get a pay cut. I don't think that they're going to win on this. I don't think there's anything substantial. No, we're not losing him.
Well, it's a big enough deal that we're actually talking about it. So apparently there's a couple. Their names are the Erickson. So it's Bonnie Erickson and her husband Wade, and they have a company called Harrison Erickson. And they have designed a lot of costumes and puppets, like the Muppet Show, Fraggle Rock. They did the Montreal Expos mascot. So the Phillies pivoted in the late 70s from Phil and Phyllis, which were some pretty lame mascots, like these colonial-looking people, to
Pretty lame.
It was lame. To the Phanatic. And apparently in 1984, Harrison Erickson assigned all of the company's rights in the Phanatic to the Phillies for $215,000, and the assignment was forever. So there's some history here. They also had a previous lawsuit in 1979 for copyright infringement after they adopted the mascot. So there's some history here. The big question is what happens in 2019. According to Forbes, in April, the Philadelphia Phillies were valued at $1.9 billion.
Oof.
So that is not a company I would be fighting in court, because guess what?
You're gonna
they
lose.
can just keep paying the lawyer fees and put you in a lot of trouble just by elongating the suit. That's how a lot of big businesses work. I mean, this is a almost $2 billion company here. Forget that they're a sports franchise, and they're the best businesses in the U.S. because the values just keep going up. So what I see here is, and there's some assertions that the former VP Bill Giles came up with the original concept. The 1984 agreement gave perpetual rights, according to the Phillies. Obviously, the defendants disagree, and they want to reclaim control 35 years later. And 2019 is actually the first year they were allowed to try to terminate the original agreement. So it looks like this was planned out for a long time.
They were plotting. And I think there was some concern that, like, other, I guess, teams could pick up the mascot potentially. But, like, I don't see that happening. The mascot, the Phillie Phanatic, is known for us. Why would you want to adopt that?
I mean, unless you're the crappy Mets and they have Mr. Met, the stupid baseball head, and they need to freshen it up. I'm pretty sure
The Met Fanatic.
Well, I don't think that would go over well. But I'm pretty sure that all the teams. Now, I know hockey is like one of the few that doesn't have a lot of mascots. I don't think like the Yankees have a mascot.
Oh, so not baseball.
There's some teams that don't have a mascot. Most of them do. I don't see anyone that would go and use them. I mean, this is going to be a money grab because it's an iconic. Yeah. I mean, there's many polls that have documented this is like the best mascot in sports, and so I don't see the Phillies losing this suit, mainly because they got so much money. They're just going to pay until they make this go away once and for all. That's what any good company is going to do. And like a lot of these real estate lawsuits we talked about, I don't know what Harrison Erickson is worth, this mascot company. I'm sure it's not $1.9 billion.
Maybe close. Probably not.
So don't hold your breath about the Phanatic becoming a free agent.
He's probably going to stay.
I would say it's almost a certainty here. So let's watch this dumb lawsuit. It's going to be a news story. I mean, they got us talking about it, so I give them credit. Maybe they wanted some news for their company. Who knows? A little bit of a frightening story here.
Yeah.
So in Commerce City, Colorado, a local agent was attacked by a man that she was showing an open house to, and this was the past week. So the name of the agent, her name is Donna Hetzler of New Dawn Realty and Metro Brokers Elite. She was at an open house in Commerce City. Guy comes in. That's not unusual. Knocks on the door. He's asking the right questions, how long it's been on the market, that sort of stuff, and about loans, what he would qualify for. And then they got into the master bedroom, and he pulled out a knife. And he laid out a knife and 6 inches of rope, and he asked her to take off her ring and go into the closet. So obviously you see where this is going here.
Yeah.
And then she pulled a gun out. He saw that she had it. He sprayed her with bear spray, and then she couldn't see, fired the gun, and the guy left the open house. So my question isn't so much about this story, because I'm glad no one got hurt here, most importantly. I mean, this is something we've talked about internally on our team about being safe at showings, open houses, that sort of thing. Rather, should there be a protocol for these sort of things when you're showing a vacant house? I mean, I know we have an internal safety protocol that we use. We have a Google Calendar. Everyone shares their location, so we know where people are if we're not hearing from them, and that's all internal to our team. But should realtors be carrying guns? Should they be protecting themselves? I mean, what do you think about all this?
I 100% think you should be protecting yourself, going the extra mile to make your team aware of where you're going to be, what your safety plan is. That needs to be in place, and I'm really happy that we have one in place, because it actually happens more often than not, situations that get a little bit dicey, and you want to know that you have that backup cushion. But I'm glad that she had a gun. She had a license to carry. This instance, she had to use it. I think that every realtor, man or woman, whatever, you need to have a plan for protection and maybe carry some protection on you as well, whatever that be, whether it be mace, if you're allowed to have a permit to carry or anything like that.
So I guess this was a carry conceal permit is what she had. I mean, that's what I'm reading from the story. And a lot of people, they recommend having a couple people at an open house. We've had some incidents here where it didn't get this far. There was definitely some warning signs and red flags that I've seen personally. I know you've seen personally. We've had some other people on our team experience this. And it's something that if you're not thinking that this could happen and you're a real estate agent, you might need to get a reality check. There are realtors that have been killed. There are realtors that have gotten hurt by people. There was a house in Philadelphia where it was booby-trapped, and an investor went in. There was like a knife that came down from the stairway into the door. So just because the house is on the market doesn't mean it's going to be safe for you. And if you are not thinking about this, this is almost like a PSA, I feel like, that not everyone's going to have good intentions, and that's why it's really important to follow the protocols in place, because this woman happened to have a gun, but let's say this happened to somebody who didn't have a gun and that no one knew where they were, and then all of a sudden she's supposed to be home or back from the open house, and that doesn't happen.
Absolutely.
I mean, my wife has called me many times when appointments go late. She's like, I thought something was wrong, and I'm like, I'm good, but I appreciate you watching out for me and being concerned like that. So this is a major concern for a lot of people, and if you're an agent out there, you've got to think about this and have a game plan.
You need to be aware and do your homework and know what areas you're going into, and you have to know, you have to have the backup plan put in place like we have.
So I don't really know how to end this here. It was a pretty concerning story. I'm just glad you didn't get hurt.
I don't think we can really disagree. Like, should
you could. I don't know if that would make sense, but
do you think you should be carrying something?
No, because I'm not licensed to, so I wouldn't do that.
Like mace or something.
I probably wouldn't, but what I always do is I keep my phone with me, and I used to cell phone etiquette is like a very taboo thing for realtors, because there's some realtors, I'm calling them, they're like, hey, I'm in an appointment, I got to call you back, and I'm like, well, why are you picking up the phone? Some people used to not. I remember when cell phones came out, this is before your time, obviously, some people didn't bring them with them into the appointment, but you're going into somebody's house. So I always make sure my phone is charged. I have it with me so I can make an emergency call if I need to. Because if there's something like that happening, I mean, You also got to trust your gut. Like if you feel
Yeah.
like something is not going right, it's probably the case.
Yeah.
And you might need to get out of there and just I mean, there's no piece of business that's worth your life or something like this. So
I think there's this app that, like you said, bring in your cell phone, where if you feel like you're in a situation, you open the app, you can hold your finger on this button, and you can release it if you need it to like dispatch like kind of authorities. I don't know exactly what it's called, but I've heard about it. I'll look into it.
that would be a good example to Google it, and then maybe you find out
Google
what
it.
happens, right? So, okay. So the motivational part, back on a more of a positive note here. So this comes from Warren Buffett. I saw this morning, was fantastic. It was a tweet he sent out, and it said, "An idiot with a plan can beat a genius without a plan." Very simple. What do you think about that, Jess?
A genius without a plan. If you don't have a plan in certain circumstances, you could mess up and you could do something that you're not meant to do, and just because you think you have it all together, it could go sideways and you don't have a plan B. Everything could just go awry. Like for an interview, if you're not prepping for your interview, having those questions ready, like you need to have a plan in place. That way you know what you're talking about, you know what answers you're going to spew off, things like that. An idiot with a plan. I don't. Do you have any idiots with plans or idiots who?
Well, besides me, what I know is this:
Not
there's a
the
couple
case.
historical figures that have. I don't know they were idiots, but they didn't have plans, and then when they got a plan, they became very successful. So the
Okay.
first one is Thomas Edison. So obviously, we've got all these lights around here,
Oh, yeah.
thanks to Thomas Edison, and and this has been well documented, but he literally had 10,000 things that he failed at, and he looked at it and said, I figured 10,000 ways to make it not work to find the one way that made it work. And so a lot of people looked at him as an idiot because he kept trying to come up with a light bulb and do all these other scientific inventions, and none of it really worked. Walt Disney, who's also not an idiot, he used to work for the Kansas City Star, and he was let go because he had unimaginative ideas and did not feel that he was
Really?
appropriate for the job. And now he has this empire, and I use the word empire very specifically because that's what it is, that makes more money than anybody. I mean, they print money down there, literally. And they have Mickey Mouse on it, and then that's what you get to spend at the park. So those are two examples. What I also know is you probably see, let's take it to the real estate side. You see that person walking around the office, and they're like, man, how does this person sell houses? What are they doing? They're an idiot, but they have a plan. They get up and do whatever they're going to do every day and have a plan to work whatever lead pillar is working for them. That is a very common thing in real estate. How's this person selling houses? I don't get how they're successful because they have a plan. It's the people that think they're too smart to have a plan and are almost aloof, or you meet that person that's so smart but then they can't write a check. I mean, that's a real thing. And it's those people that rely only on intelligence rather than having a plan and implementing, because ideas are great. Execution is what counts. I've heard that. You might have heard me say that before. You can have all the great ideas in the world, but if you don't have a plan to execute it, it's never going to happen.
Yeah, you can have all these great ideas, but what if everything like goes awry and it hits the fan? And if you have the plan and steps in place to, okay, what's next? This is what's next. You'll keep on moving forward.
So for all you idiots watching out there,
Just
all you got to
come
do
up
is
with
have a plan.
You'll be successful.
And all you geniuses that got your nose in textbooks and stuff, maybe you need to work on your game planning a little better. We'll catch you guys next week. Thanks for watching.